computer. Okay, welcome to Faith and Calm, class 257. You can talk a lot about a lot of things, but I think everybody wants to know what's going on in Israel and what's with the war.
Right.
So, I thought it has to preempt whatever we're doing, and we need to talk a little bit about that, and not from the sense of CNN or what you can read from the Jerusalem Post or from Shmeis or from Arutz or something like that. Although some of those are reasonable sources, CNN is not. I don't know what your opinion would be, how scared you would be. I don't know. I was just talking to a nice Jewish boy, and he says he's in tremendous anxiety about the whole thing. So
You spoke to who, did you say?
a nice Jewish boy, who's
Oh,
a contemporary of David Glazer. Anyway, so and his because his sister in Israel, whatever. And I was thinking, it's important thing for a Faith and Calm class to try and give us a little bit of a deeper picture of what's going on. And that will help a little bit with, I think, to motivate us and to give us the energy to do what we have to do. Because I think the real emphasis is not so much, there is a lot of danger, there is a lot of, there's tragedy that's going on. I will acknowledge that. But on the other hand, it's like what I was learning a class on, the inner meaning of prayer. And what people think prayer is asking God for things. And, there's a part of that. But if you really read the prayers, you realize that most of it is maybe 60 to 80% of it has nothing to do with asking God about anything. It's about aligning yourself to your inner core of who your personality is. Many times we live on a very external level, and we're thinking about how to survive, which is our animal soul, worried about what's going to be with me, what's going to be my health, what's going to be with my money, what's going to be with my family, what's going to be with this, what's going to be with my relationship, what's going to be a job, what's going to be, and that constant chatter is real, and you should worry about that to an extent. But on the other hand, there's a part of you which is not completely defined by the things happening to you. And that's what prayer is about, to get in touch with your soul and to understand who you are, that you are an indestructible piece of godliness. God cares about you very deeply, and to actually experience that, and not just to give it lip service, but to actually internalize and feel that that's actually who you are. And we're not being wiped out here. It's the opposite. And that is, I also heard a class this week from a Harvard psychologist who was interviewed on the number one podcast of the world. And he's an Orthodox Jew, and Jew in the City said, go listen to this. So Jew in the City is a Jewish girl. And so I listened to it, and, he said...
Wait, that's the name of the podcast?
No, this lady has a website, also podcast called Jew in the City.
Oh, what's the most famous podcast?
And the most famous podcast in the world is, I forget what the name of that podcast is. It's non-Jewish. It's based in Boston. And this Harvard psychologist went there. His name was Rosenbaum, David Rosenbaum, something like that. Anyway, he's a guy with the yarmulke, religious.
What does it have to do with Jew in the City?
Anyway, because she advertised him. She said, listen, here's a nice Jewish guy, and he's breaking out into the non-Jewish world.
Oh, that's how you
That's how I found out about it.
That's how you found out about it. Okay.
Right. So I'm listening to the podcast, which is non-Jewish lady interviewing this Orthodox rabbi about anxiety. Of course, Jews know all about anxiety. And, what he said was very interesting. He said, if you read Tehillim, you will see that David HaMelech is constantly suffering from anxiety, and for good reasons.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that's happened to him in his life, and it wasn't an easy life. On the other hand, he has tremendous faith and trust and belief in God and just listening and everything else. What are you doing?
Okay.
That's and so he says, the first thing you have to know is anxiety is not a like he's taught in school. He was taught in school that it's a disorder. It actually is part of being orderly about life. There are things in this world like what's happening now in Israel, that you should have some anxiety about because it increases your attention to what's going on. Social anxiety, and we know speaking in public also makes you a little bit sharper and so forth. A little bit of so don't have anxiety about anxiety was basically his line. It's not a good idea. If you have anxiety about anxiety, it's just going to add to your anxiety.
Right.
Anxiety
plus anxiety equals anxiety.
It just doubles it up and so forth. Realize that it's sometimes coming from, examine it, understand it, and then realize it's not, radically your anxiety is coming from the fact that you think that you're in charge of everything and you have to take care of everything yourself. And I think this is where Yiddishkeit and prayer comes in. No, we realize that, you know what? There are things that are not in my control, and you know what? God is going to take care of it. And that's what God does. He takes care of things, and he is taking care of us. And I'll talk about this more a little later. But of course, the Rebbe had the famous when the first Iran-Iraq war came out, everybody was posting what the Rebbe brought. Somebody posted a medrash from the Yalkut Shimoni, which says, that there's going to come a time close to the Geula where there's going to be the king of Persia is going to rise up against the entire world. And that all the Jews he's going to make war against the Jewish people, and the Jewish people are going to be in fear and terror, and God is going to say, this is the time for your redemption, and everything that is happening right now is for your safety and for your protection and for your good. And you'll just have to wait and see how it develops out into the best possible scenario that we could not have imagined. So ultimately, that's what we as Jews have, emunah and faith. We can't say intellectually, logically why that's the case, but we know and we've been told over and over again, and the Rebbe it's not just us trying to find the patterns ourselves. The Rebbe emphasized this and said, you know what? Pay attention to what's happening behind the scenes. This is all really trying to help actually finally clean up a war that started way before 1948 and never ended. It's a constant war, and it's fought in many different dimensions. And finally, Israel is facing up to it and actually getting to the heart of the matter, which in my military training is exactly what you have to do. You have to find the center of gravity for the whole problem and then attack right at the center. And we never did that before. We always beat around the edges, a little bit here, a little bit there, and then we back off, and then we apologize, and and now finally we're forced to have to deal directly with the situation. And it's going to
you said your military training. Where was that?
Yeah, well, because I work in the Air Force, so I study, things like, military planning and
before you got this job. When you started this job, you mean?
I picked up this stuff, I started taking these classes in military planning and so forth, and one of the things
how convenient.
Course of action and development and into intelligence preparation of the battlefield. But one of the things they teach you when you're looking at any problem is, even in your personal life, is find the center of gravity. Not easy, but there's this one thing that's really the crux, what everything is holding off of. And that's the important thing. And if you know what that problem is, then the rest of the stuff, they're just secondary. You're not just tripping the edges of the hedge. You're getting to the core of what has to be done. So we have to get to the core of what has to be done. So here's the stories. This is where it gets interesting. So I was listening to a couple things, and hopefully I'll be able to tie it together. The first one I'm going to start it with is I was listening to Rabbi Simon Jacobson. Rabbi Simon Jacobson is one of my sources. He speaks every week about a lot of interesting things. He takes questions from Orthodox people, all sorts of questions about contemporary things happening now, and he tries to relate it to how, through the eyes of a Chassidus, how does a Chassid see it?
When is his class?
Simon Jacobson is Sunday nights at 8:00. It's on YouTube, and it's open for him. Any kind of question that you have, and it's very interesting.
My sister used to go to live, but I think it was a different class.
It's recorded, so you can obviously listen to it. It's called My Life Chassidus Applied. So he was the chief choser for the Rebbe. Most of Likutei Sichos was edited by him, and together with Yilkan and the other editors. They were human scribes. They have photographic or audiographic memories. They would remember, 3-4 hours of what the Rebbe's talks on Yom Tov and Shabbos, and then after that, they would write down everything. And
I thought that was Wai Jacobson that did that.
Wai his younger brother. Simon was the lead.
I heard Rabbi Wai in an interview, and he told over that he did this.
Yes, he did it. He was brought in.
They both did it.
And his older brother, was the lead on the process.
Chief? Even more than Yoel Kahn?
Yes, more than Yoel Kahn. He was the lead leader.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's just
no, that's okay. No, that's
my sister. My sister has his stuff, and his stuff is like never really talks about like Torah per se. It sort of like sneaks around the.
He's the author of the book Meaningful Life, and
right. My sister got it for me. Right.
Yeah. It's a very he did that.
Very good book.
Very good book. Anyway, so he just recently, he's telling a story. He says, I was shocked. He just recently went to Israel. He just got back Thursday night. He went there on Monday. And why was he there? Because he has a good friend, the Prime Minister of Argentina, Milei, who became a very big fan of the Jews, and also a big fan of Simon Jacobson, and he listens to him. And so he's actually when he's in New York, or when Simon gets sometimes invited to Argentina, he wants him to be there with him. So he said, "Please come. I'm coming. I'm going to Israel. I'm getting an award, and I want you to be there with him." So Simon flew to Israel this last week on Monday. He gets to Israel, and this guy Javier Milei, he's talking all about, I just read the Parsha of the week, and he goes to the Knesset and he starts explaining to them about Abraham and Moshe and how they're his heroes and everything. And so this is very interesting. This non-Jewish guy who's just like all over explaining to the Knesset all about about Judaism and how important it is to him, and and reading the Chumash and the Parsha and how much he learns from it and everything else. And then it was Thursday, and they're whisked off to a special event at the Kosel. The whole Kosel is empty. Netanyahu comes also to the Kosel Maravi. All the place is empty for security reasons, and there's only like Simon Jacobson, a few other people there, the chief rabbi of the Kosel, and Milei, and they're all praying there, and Milei's putting notes in the wall and praying very intently. And Netanyahu, at that point in time, all of a sudden puts on a tallis and a yarmulke. If he said, I don't know why, but anyway, he goes and he goes there, and he puts in a note in the Kosel, and then later Simon found out what it said on it. It said, he said the capital Kuf Aleph. Kuf Chaf Aleph, Shomer Yisrael, Lo, Kuf Chaf Aleph.
121.
Yeah. Right. And he says it with a lot of feeling, and then he puts this note in the Kosel, and later they found out what it said on it. It said the line from Parshas Bamidbar, Balak, where Bilam is trying to curse the Jews, and one of the things that he's forced to say in praise of the Jews is Am Kalavi Yakum. The Jews are like a lioness waking up. And of course, Balak. Mm-hmm. And of course, he knew what that meant, but nobody there knew what it meant. But we found out, that that's going to be the name of this operation that they did later that night, Thursday night. And, it was obviously on, but Netanyahu somehow, he thought this was a very important thing to be at this meeting with Milei and so forth. And so he's got him there at the Kosel. And then they go on a trip inside the tunnels, and they show him a coin from the first temple period that they just found, which talks about a person named Netanyahu ben Yoshahu, and, God's gift, which they wanted to show to Benjamin Netanyahu. And though this Argentina minister, he comes with a gift for Netanyahu, which is a picture of Netanyahu talking to the Rebbe. And I want to show you the video right now. It's a famous video here. It's the first time that Netanyahu came to the United States. Let me get this up on the share here.
Wait a
And
minute. So what Rabbi Simon Jacobson went because this
Because he's
Rabbi
friends with this Argentinian
this Miss
president.
Milei, right?
yeah, he'd be like,
He went to see him get the award. No, because I have this Jewish
okay, I'm
WhatsApp
going
group,
to show
and
the
they
video
show
now.
pictures of this
Okay.
Milei guy all the time.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, okay.
שמעתי וראיתי את הסרטון שטר שזה קו זה, את הקדוש ברוך הוא מסייעים לכל דברים סמוליטאי ואחרים. אבל האמריקאים מתחילים בקשי קסיה. פרטקתי דולי שאני מדבר ברב עם אברהם עניין נקראים. אני מתכוון להמשיך בדיוק קראתי היטב את המוזיקה. וזה הקו הכי טוב בשביל הקו היחידי. שלא יצטרכו לכל עניין שלו בכל מקרים. בשוב ובמחס אני מודה לך על ההזדמנויות שנתת לבוא ולעזור לקבל את הסיוע ולאנשים שאתה נותן לא רק לכל עם ישראל. אני עדיין בציר התמ"ת שלי, אני יודע. שמעתי בציר התמ"ת.
He's so young.
זה התפקיד האחרון. אני פעם מבחינת מעשה לאדם מבחינת מעשה. ואני מתכוון לחזור על זה. עדתי סדתי מאיר ב9-10 אנשים. לבד יראים תפרה שלי. כי שהקודש ברוך הוא לצד הזה. ברכה והצלחה. ניסים של הקודש ברוך הוא.
Where did you get this clip?
ברכה והצלחה.
Okay.
I would like a link if you have a link. I would like a link.
Stop share.
Yeah, I will. It's I'll drop a link in the chat. Yeah.
I just texted my sister that you were talking about, and my sister wrote back that he just went to Israel. So it could be that my sister does his Sunday night class.
Okay.
It's on
so
Zoom,
anyway,
I'm assuming, right?
yeah, it's on Zoom. Yeah. So it's a live YouTube conversation too. So I just posted it. So anyway, so right after this meeting, they were all of a sudden they started rushing Netanyahu to get away from the Kosel. He had somewhere to go, and nobody knew why. But they figured he's a busy person, and they were also rushing Milei to leave also, which he also caught a plane that night. Actually, at the same time, Simmons said, I left my hotel at 10 p.m., and he was there at the airport too. So we both left about the same time. We get on the plane about midnight, and then 3 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden the beepers are going off on the plane saying that this was the last plane to leave Ben Gurion, and Israel is at war, and there's no planes coming back in again. And like Simmons going, whoa, what just happened here? And the answer is very interesting. It's one of the things that Netanyahu really liked this picture because it was sort of a prophecy about him that, he would have to stand and not be intimidated by 119 other Jews and do the right thing, which is he's doing the right thing and not listening and not being intimidated by the rest of the world and saying, you know what, there's really no choice in this matter. We've got to do it. It's a threat. And it's not a threat only to Israel. It's a threat to Miami Beach and everywhere else, because as soon as Iran got the weapons, they were making missiles that are going to come to the United States too, to drop bombs on us also. They don't care about anything else other than, about their ideology. So they're not interested in land. There's no way Israel is threatening Iran, that they're going to take over their land, or that Iran wants the land of Israel. They just merely want a Jew-free Middle East. Which, by the way, I heard in another talk today that this whole idea from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. The word "free" is not what it has in Arabic. It has two translations. Either it means the land will be Islamic, the land will be, for Allah, or the land will be Jew-free. but it never means just free. It means that that's what their ideology is. They hate the fact that there's a Jewish people in the world. And so therefore, Netanyahu is right. I mean, they don't want anybody else other than themselves, and they would have no problem blowing up Miami or New York or anything else. So Israel is basically dealing with the whole front of the world. And interestingly enough, this is also it also is connected to many other things. I don't know if you know this, but there's a special day coming up, the 23rd of Sivan. Nobody knows what happened on the 23rd of Sivan, but the Rebbe once emphasized this. If you look at Megillah Esther,
Yes,
there's the story about right after Esther exposes Achashverosh. Achashverosh calls him Mordechai and Esther and says, write this down. You have permission to deal with your enemies. The world says, okay, I'm not going to stop you. Israel has a right to defend itself. It's exactly 1 week after when Israel went into Iran. And the world says, you know what? You're doing our work. Go ahead, keep doing it. And it's interesting that Russia and China don't help Iran. They give some words, but they don't do anything. And America's saying, do what you have to do. Just take care of this situation. Not 100%, and it's not 100% safe in Israel either. But it's a very interesting thing, that we're reliving the certain story, the same Persia story that it said in the Yalkut Shimoni, which says, Jews, you're quaking, you're fearing. It's right. There is reason to be hanging anxiety. It isn't pleasant right now in Israel. On the other hand, everything that I am doing, God is saying, I'm doing it in order to finally bring the clean out, to flush the schmutz of the world, and cleaning out the toilets and cleaning out that kind of stuff is sometimes dirty work. And we have to do it and do it quickly and to get it over with. And I'm telling you, as the person working in the military, it's absolutely a miracle that the Jews, there's a military there, which is which is rated about equal to Israel with almost the same number of planes and all sorts of high-tech anti missiles and detection systems given by the Chinese and by the Russians and so forth. And Israel shut it all down. You didn't hear of one plane being shot down. No Iranian planes. They could fly to Israel. That's not happening. There's nothing happening. Israel has full control of the entire air.
You're talking about now?
Now, right now.
The Israeli news WhatsApp I have shows buildings in Israel that were bombed.
This is true, but I'm saying over Tehran, Israel has complete control of the.
Right, no, I know, because you know what I also saw? I saw a woman who's all wrapped up in Iranian garb, and she's in Israel. She's the news forecaster for the Iranian station, and she's talking, and all of a sudden it explodes in the background. You saw that also?
I saw that also.
I was like, yay!
It's amazing. And Israel is calling up people on the ground in Israel. I looked at Israel 24 TV, and they called two people there, and they asked them, what do you think? And the man in the street, they say, you know what? We're really happy that because these people didn't care a thing about the Iranian people. They've been in charge since 1978. And we're really actually happy. Right. And we're hoping that this is going to be a change. Maybe some of them are a little afraid of what might happen. But on the other hand, they're not the people in the street are not upset about this, and so forth. So, there's many.
They don't like that the way the government's ruling them. It's not them.
Yeah,
right, because I saw something also that there was somebody who spoke on the UN who said, that I saw this today, that was saying that when we don't have anything against you, the people of Iran, it's just that it's your government that's what's.
Yeah, Danny says that Netanyahu said it and so forth, and they're telling him, this is the time for you guys to rise up, because your leaders are cowering in the cellars. So it's time. And and there's fewer and fewer missiles each day. It's been terrible, but they're really running out of any kind. So it might turn out very well. We'll have to see how things turn out, and so forth. But I'm trying to point out the deeper story, which is that there's things that are happening out there that are just, you have, we don't make up just these
Have it
stories about
correct.
patterns of stuff happening. There are things, but the answer is the Rebbe pointed out the day of the year where this is happening, the 23rd of Sivan, the Yalkut Shemot. It's not yet, but it's within the period. So I don't know. The Rebbe said it can happen even before the 23rd, that the whole world will say, go ahead and do what you have to do. And the Rebbe pointed it out. And he said, this is it. And of course, the Yalkut Shimoni, which is all talking about that all these things that you're seeing and all these are Chevle Mashiach. And this is all about cleansing the world to be able to bring the final Geula. And we see this whole thing going on, and we see the arousal of the Jews. And so I think what we're supposed to learn from this is there is still some trouble in this world. There are still some Jews that are confused. And what we can do more than anything else, and this is where I'll finish up my talk, because I think I've gone a long time already, surprisingly, is that, I was listening to another rabbi, and he says, there are called 4 gulluses that the Jews have to go through. There's the gullus of Egypt, there's the gullus of Persia, there's the gullus of Edom,
Greece.
I thought Bavel was
and then the
first.
Bavel, Greece, and then there's the Gavel of Edom. But there's also some places, and especially in Daniel, it talks about the gullus of Ishmael. Now, Ishmael is an interesting one. What is the gullus of Ishmael talking about, of the Arab world? And that is, the other ones all took over the land of Israel physically. The Arabs never wanted to take over the land of Israel. All they wanted to be is free of Jews from the river to the sea. They never gave money to the Arabs that they're living there. They didn't care about a Palestinian state. They called themselves the Arab High Command. They don't really care about a Palestinian state at all. They don't give money to it. They don't care. They don't want another state, for goodness sakes. But they do want is the place free of Jews and so forth, because they have an ideological fight against the Jews. And one of the reasons that they have the strength is because they do 3 things. They circumcise themselves, they pray a lot, and that they also, the self-sacrifice. I don't know. But one thing they have is the power of prayer. They do pray a lot. And God sometimes listens to them and gives them rewards in this world for their devotion and prayer. So what Jews have to do, I think one thing we have to do is our prayers have to be more sincere, because their prayers are certainly not sincere. And the more that we're sincere in our prayers, the more we feel our prayers, the more we arouse other people. We say Tillam, and we do more of these things with a real open heart and really trying to internalize the words. And it's not hard, because every word you read now, you can see what's happening in Israel, and it's connected to, not being scared and not being afraid and not being affected by this world. And all of that takes the energy away from them, and then it helps bring the Geula closer. So find another Jew, excite another Jew. I mean, yesterday in Boston, Brookline, we had a great opportunity. Should have been there. Somebody threw the brick through the store,
saw that
the window of the butchery. And there was so many Jews, hundreds of Jews that came outside, she saw it already.
Yeah, but yes, listen, somebody else might listen.
Okay, so you said it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
never have to say
We
it.
didn't hear her say what we didn't hear. What
And
she
then
said.
they were, and they came and they were singing and dancing in Israeli flags, and people were putting tefillin on people. And
really?
Rabbi Posner said, you know what? If this guy knew how many mitzvahs they were going to accomplish by throwing a brick through the window of the butchery, he wouldn't have been running away. So we should actually enshrine that brick, and celebrate it, because it's going to help build the Beit HaMikdash Shlishi. So all of this is all leading to, it's not fun to have to, they already replaced the window, but it's not fun to have to go through this. But you know what? It's all leading to Jews coming together, Jews realizing that we're all united together, and that we're all feeling what's going on in Israel, and we're all doing our own part in different parts of the battle. Some of us are actually on the front lines. Some of us are supplying supplies to it, some are giving money, and some of us are going to work on the spiritual side, but there's all these parts are all part of the battle, and we're all in that battle and all in that war. And that's what we have to do, is have the encouragement and the enthusiasm and not be afraid of this, because it's actually all giving us a better ability to be able to do what we have to do to inspire the world. And with
So
that,
can I just ask a quick question?
Sure, go ahead.
You started off by saying that it says, I don't remember where it says it, that Persia is going to fight against Israel.
Okay,
And I
let me
don't
get
re-
the quote. I should have wanted to put the quote up on here before.
So that's not really officially what's happening now, because really, I mean, the what my thought is, what I got out of it is that the reason why they first wanted to destroy the nuclear plants there, and then they want to take out all the things in Iran that will have damage to Israel. And the last one was just recently the news station. But that's really what they're doing.
Persia is Iran. I don't, if you don't know it, that's what it is.
No,
Persia is,
I know that, but I'm saying
yeah.
Israel didn't really start quote unquote attacking. They're just trying to destroy nuclear plants and things that will prevent Persia from attacking Israel. That's really what they're doing. They're
Okay, so
officially
here's the
attacking, but
quote.
they're only really doing it to destroy the ways that Iran can try to destroy Israel. So
So let me get the exact quote then, and you'll see how it fits. So it says, the Yalkut Shimoni says the following: in the year that Melech HaMashiach is revealed as the king of the world. Okay, hey, so that's already going, whoa, the year, what is the sign? So the kings of the world will quarrel. There'll be fighting. There'll be wars. And the king of Persia, the king of Arabia, and the Holy One will come up. And the Holy One, blessed be he, says to the Jewish people, my children, do not be afraid. All that I have done, I did for you. The time of your redemption has arrived. So we are standing on, there's a war. The king of Persia is involved in this. The rest of the Arab world is involved in this. And the Jews are afraid. And God is saying, don't be afraid. This is all about the time, because this is the year that Melech Mashiach is coming. So this is what we're looking for.
It fits perfectly with my thing about David and Mel.
So let's switch over to Shalom Meshahudis, because she's going to flip over.
Right. So I guess you understood my question was just really that what Israel is doing is stopping them from even doing that, because if they're taking down their nuclear plants and they're trying to take down all their leaders. I get it from this WhatsApp chat. It shows all the things that Israel's doing to Iran. So it sounds like Israel's trying to stop them from doing it before they even do it to Israel.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. So that's not part of the that's not part of the Yalkut Shimoni.
But right now, America pushes, to have a conversation, because one of the leaders of Iran already saying that we're not going to develop weapons, blah, blah, blah. So America pushes Israel to have a diplomatic resolution, which obviously
is a disaster.
Meaning giving up. But
that's okay.
I couldn't hear what you just said, the last part. Can you repeat what you said, the last part? I'm sorry.
Diplomatic resolution means basically giving up.
Right.
That's it.
Who should be giving up?
Meaning that you basically don't win the war in this case if you go to diplomatic conversation.
Golda, do you want to explain? Did it come straight from Trump? I think President Trump is making a suggestion.
That's what he writes. He writes, Donald Trump writes a lot of his channel on X, whatever. So yes, he either today or yesterday, he did write that a possible peaceful resolution. He calls for Iran for peaceful resolution. He calls Israel. But the bottom line, through 77 years of history, we know that nothing of peaceful resolution or diplomatic resolution, nothing ever worked.
Right.
As an opposite, it created more troubles.
And also, Iran still has one nuclear thing that was not dismantled.
Oh, they still have one?
They have a big one somewhere farther out, and it has to be dismantled because they'll just use that one. As Yetzel Shimon said, it's not like they just want to get rid of Israel. That's it. And okay, so if you don't mind, I'm going to start because it's getting late. And
Sorry, I just, it was
That's
just
okay.
important.
It is very important. So I just want to say, I want to start as always with the four things that I say. Number one, we're in an extraordinary time. We can see it right now that we're in an extraordinary time. The Rebbe told us we are in the unfolding of the redemption, and the Rebbe was never wrong about any public prophecy that he made. He made many unbelievably unlikely ones, and they came true. And secondly, you and I were meant to be in this time period because we have an important role to play. We were planted here because we have an important role to play right now. Number three, we were given all the tools that we need to navigate this time. We were given the Torah, which is our guidebook, and the mitzvahs, which are our power tools. And number four, what we're doing tonight, learning about the redemption, Mashiach and the redemption, is the fastest way to speed it up, the Rebbe told us. So I just want to make a few comments that, Israel is at war. And we know that in every battle that the Jews have had, who has fought the war? Hashem has fought the war for them. When we went out even back in the desert, when we were in the desert, and the Jews had to fight against Amalek or whoever they had to fight against. What happened? They sent the ark ahead of them, not the ark not the golden ark that was in the Mishkan, but a wooden ark that contained all the
Broken luchos.
the broken pieces of the first luchos, and it was sent into battle ahead of the Jews. And we know that is what dispelled the enemy, not the Jews. I mean, the Jews had, they did what they did in the real world, but we're told that it was the ark that dispelled the enemy. And so too now, Hashem goes ahead of us into every battle.
So the broken luchos going first is symbolic of what? I remember
It's symbolic of the fact that Hashem goes ahead of the Jews in war. It's not like they're going out.
No. But why especially the broken ones?
Well, I don't think the other ones.
I remember hearing there's something symbolic about it.
Okay, you'll have to look it up for me because I don't have that.
Okay,
but
sorry.
I'll tell you that. No, that's okay. It's the other one was in the Mishkan. You couldn't, you couldn't just whatever. And these, they went out to battle. They did, and in the wooden ark that I believe the one that Moshe Rabbeinu built himself, the wooden one. So and the Rebbe tells us that whatever. This part is not from the Rebbe, but we don't have to, so we love Israel so much, and we're so worried. We're like one with every Jew. But instead of just looking on your phone all the time, right? It's much better to say Tehillim. It's much better to daven. It's much better to do a mitzvah for Israel. It's much better to give tzedakah. And the Rebbe explained to us that for a guy, like put on tefillin and is like tefillin is like a helmet, a protective helmet. And mezuzah protects us just like a shield used to protect us. And
did Haskell Sherman say this thing after the brick that Jews congregated and some people went to put on tefillin on the Jews that were standing around? Because I missed that.
Oh, he meant when the brick went
through the brick.
When the brick went through the butchery, some rabbis came, Chabad rabbis, and they just started, as a protest to the anti-Semitism. You think you want to be anti-Semitic?
Right.
Look what we're going to do. We're going to turn it.
Because my phone only just showed the picture of the brick, and it didn't show anything else.
There were rabbis that I know actively, working for that. So anyway, it was a solidarity thing. That no, we're not going to put up with anti-Semitism. We're going to be strong, and so, and we know that it's been said that Israel is the safest place on earth, yeah, and Israel is the safest place on earth, even though this stuff is happening. We know at the eve of the 6-Day War, the Rebbe told it wouldn't let this. Parents really wanted their kids to come back to America, kids that were learning in Israel, and the Rebbe said no. No, I don't. It's not a good idea. They should stay in Israel. Israel's the safest place in the world. They should stay in Israel. And Hashem's eyes are on Israel from the beginning of the year through the end of the year. So, so anyway, um, we have to do whatever we can do. Light Shabbos candles, tell somebody else to light Shabbos candles, check our mezuzahs, put up mezuzahs, give charity, buy a letter in a Torah. There's so many different things that we can do instead of despairing. And I'm going to tell an incredibly silly, sort of silly story that has none of the gravity of what we're talking about, but it in our own life, okay, so we have to be happy. We can't be despairing about what's happening in Israel. We have to be happy because that brings blessing, and we have to do tons of mitzvahs. And I think Haskell Shimon's suggestion was a marvelous one, that that the Arabs have a little bit of clout in heaven because they daven. They daven 5 times a day. We don't have to daven 5 times a day, but as he said, to increase in our own sincerity, to make it less rote. This is it's an incredibly important juncture in Jewish history, and we should grab it and run with it. And so I'm just going to end on a much less global note, a much more you and me note, that so in your life, in our life, we have all these different things pulling at us. How do we keep our head on straight? Not just about the war, but how do we keep our head straight? So silly example. Please forgive me, but I think it makes its point. I was asked to speak at a Chabad house in a nearby state, and I didn't know the people that were asking me to speak, and I didn't know how many people would be there. I didn't know anything, and then I didn't know the people who asked me. I didn't even know how they where they got my name from. So anyway. So I agreed, even though it was in the middle of, like, right now, school is insane.
What state?
It was in Rhode Island. Things are insanely busy at school. Insanely busy. I was at school until close to 9 o'clock last night, Xeroxing summer homework, and it's just crazy. All the different things that we have to do. So I thought, yeah, I have time for a speaking engagement and a drive away and to prepare something. But I felt like doing it. I wanted to do it. I thought it was so nice that they asked, and so I took it on. So I called. So all I did was L'Shlucha and I would just WhatsApped back and forth, and I just said, "Will there be a microphone, and will there be a podium?" Because those are, if I needed anything, that's all I need. I need a microphone, and I need I didn't say I need, I said, will there be? And she wrote back.
That's what you want, because it makes it easy.
Because I was going to give a talk based on a talk I gave many years ago, decades ago, but I was going to update it for today. And so I had to write a whole new part to it, but I didn't have time. If I wasn't working in school so many hours, I would have time to memorize a whole new speech. But I knew that I'm going to be so busy.
If you have a podium, you can put papers on
it. I can put the speech there. It's kind of like dumb.
Oh, okay.
Stand there with like.
Right. I got you. That's like. Right.
It doesn't look so good. And she wrote back and she said, "No, we don't have a podium, but you will have a microphone." So I was thinking. Oh. Going to be uncomfortable if I speak for half an hour to like walk around with papers, and I'm not going to know well enough to not have the papers. So I said, okay, can you at least have a little table nearby so I can put my papers down on it, something like that? She said, yeah, we'll give you a little table. So I was thinking, it's not going to be enough. A table is like down there. I'm up here. It's not going to work. Right. And so I started Googling portable podium that I would buy. Yeah, portable podium. And then, okay, Amazon had one, not so expensive, $29, something like that. But it really looked pretty flimsy. And I'm just thinking about this thing. And I said, and after a while, I realized, Shlomo Yehudis, you have so many things to do. You have such a crazy
schedule. You don't have time to drive to Rhode Island, right?
I've gotten so little sleep since Pesach. I said, you don't have time to worry about this. I said, okay, Hashem, I'm not buying this podium. I'm not schlepping it to Rhode Island. And I'm just going to leave it up to you. I'm going to leave it up to you. Whatever the situation is, if I have to walk around with papers, okay, I'll walk around with papers. but I think you're going to take care of it. I'm just going to forget that little thing. Just forget it. I'm taking it off my plate because I have no time to worry about details.
You're not spending the money,
And
right?
I have to write the speech, and that's it, and get there. And so,
But it's based on one that you already gave.
Just a minute. It was based on, yeah, I had to build on a talking
old one,
time
right?
ago. So, so anyway, so a couple of days before the event, all of a sudden I thought, I have a little book stand. I don't have it here, like a little thing that you prop books up on. I thought, oh, I can bring that.
Right.
At least then the speech will be tilted towards me. It'll still be way down there, but it'll be tilted towards me. But it's a heavy wooden thing. So
Right.
I thought, okay, I slung it in the car. And then when I arrived, I thought, this is a heavy thing. I'm not going to bring, I don't know what the situation's going to be. I don't know what
You
the
look silly
situation's
schlepping
gonna be,
it around, right?
but I am going to, I told Hashem, I'm leaving it up to him. I'm leaving this big heavy thing in the car. I'm just going. Me and my speech. I'm just going. And
And
it
your
was
papers.
in my papers. And it was a beautiful setting. It was in the backyard of the Chabad house. It was a garden party. I didn't expect it to be. That's what they billed it as, a garden party. And
Oh.
and they had a nice table with a little tablecloth, and on top of the nice table there was a beautiful tabletop stender, a beautiful tabletop.
Oh.
I mean, the situation was absolutely perfect. The microphone was good. You know, a lot of times microphones are not good. Everything was perfect, and it
So a
was.
tabletop stand isn't what it was, like a whole full wood one.
It's a big wooden, thing,
Right.
like 2 feet high. It was just absolutely perfect. And
And can I ask you what the audience
just a
was?
minute. They were people who come to two Chabad houses in northern Rhode Island.
So
So
they're not observant.
I
Are they
know
observant?
there was a mix. There was a mix. I think that there were people who were absolutely not observant, and then there were people who were on the way, and then
A whole mix of,
probably were people who were already observant. So anyway,
sorry.
so so I developed a formula. You know what? Don't sweat the details. Do what you can. If you're in any situation, do what you can and lean on Hashem for whatever you can't. Just lean on Hashem for whatever you can't. And it was so perfect. When I saw that stender, it was like, a big kiss from heaven. I leaned on you, Hashem, and you delivered. So it's a good formula for life. Do what you can, not what you can't, and lean on Hashem for the rest. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. And I have to run because I have a lot of stuff to do.
I'm just curious what you said to them, but okay.
Another time. Okay, another time. Anyway,
Benjamin, I love your necklace thing. I don't know what that purple thing is around your neck. What is it?
It's like it's a fabric necklace. It's a fabric necklace. Okay, I'm going to turn off the record.